So it's safe to assume that people have what they like to call their favorite console. Maybe it's a console that was their first and they have fond memories of it, or maybe it's one that just had the games that they really loved playing the most. For me, it's this giant black lunchbox here. This is my original Nintendo GameCube. I got this one Christmas, I think it was the year after it came out. My brother and I got this one and we ended up sharing it. And this GameCube has been with me ever since. I've taken it all the way through middle school and high school, and I took it with me to college and my first apartment. And it's been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. And because of that, I have always been extremely interested in updating it and keeping it relevant, allowing it to be played on all modern TVs and things like that. And because of that, I got really deep into the retro community and the preservation communities because I learned after many years that some GameCube discs actually develop disc rot. I now have a system in place where I back those up and I can play them on my GameCube. But let's go ahead and talk about the GameCube overall and how I have gone ahead and modernized my GameCube for the modern era. So to start with, we are going to talk first about the controller. Now, if you notice, there is a receiver. I have a lot of wired controllers as well, but I really just like this guy. This is a knockoff Wavebird that I got off of eBay. My buddy RetroSet Joe introduced me to it. It works almost exactly like a traditional Wavebird controller. You don't have different channels that you can set it to, unfortunately. It's just one signal. But my God, does it work better than any wireless controller I've ever used that's not an official first-party controller. So picture quality has always been a big thing with the GameCube. Like a lot of Nintendo consoles, it started out with the basic ketchup, mustard, and mayo cables. But if you were lucky, you had one of the original GameCubes that came with an analog AV out and a digital AV out. Now, if you were one of the extremely lucky people, you probably have a GameCube component cable, and it is going to be the greatest thing ever because it's made specifically for this port. They are stupid expensive these days. If you can find one that's relatively cheap, it might be worth getting, but thankfully we have a bunch of options on how to get the best possible signal out of the GameCube. The first and probably best option that's most readily available is the GCHD Mark II from EON Gaming. This is the one that I first came across when I was looking deeper into high quality video output for the GameCube. It's got the digital AV connector and it's got an analog connector as well. The digital AV only outputs, I don't know why it's called digital AV, because this one only supports digital video, whereas the audio comes out analog as well. It has an HDMI port here on the side for, just connecting to your HDMI TV or your capture card. But the most interesting thing is it comes with a 3.5mm /mini toss link output for your audio, so you can just extract your audio natively. And it has a Wii component cable output. So you can plug this in, just snap it snugly onto your GameCube, go HDMI out, and you can also have the Wii component out in case you want to do dual methods of capture. And that to me is really cool. I'll flash up on the screen here real quick what the video quality looks like coming out from this device, and I'll be comparing it to just, the standard GameCube output. Then we have this thing, and this one is relatively new to my collection because I saw it on pre-order, picked it up, finally got it, got to play around with it a little bit. This is the Prism cable, the Prism component cable for the GameCube by Retrobit. Now, I know there's a bit of drama around this cable in that it has, I legitimately can't remember, something about the wires or the signal were mixed up or something, but it was modeled to fit specifically into the digital AV out and provides component out. And, you know, I will let you make your decision on whether this is right for you based off the comparison footage that's going to be on screen right now. For me, I like both. If I can be completely honest, I will probably use the Mark II more often if I'm going to be taking it into another room or taking it to my brother's house to play GameCube with him, because this is just easier. Every TV has an HDMI output, whereas this one just gives that feeling of the GameCube component cables without having to spend $500 or $600 or however much it is now. It also has a bit of a nicer fit, just going in and out. It's just perfectly smooth, and I really like that. It doesn't feel like it's going to rip something out. Sometimes the GCHD Mark II feels like it's going to rip something out. It hasn't yet. It's a very snug fit, and I actually had to send this back to EON and get a replacement at one point because I was having signal issues. They were very good, and they were very reliable and very easy to work with when it came to replacing this. You know, they heard me out, they listened, and they got me one that worked and actually figured out what was wrong with my other one. So, mad props to their customer service. And finally, we get to the real crown jewel. of my GameCube build. Yes, it is in fact the orange MadCatz memory card that is 16x, and I don't know what it's 16x of. But this is like legitimately the biggest memory card I've ever had for the GameCube, and it's the only one I've ever needed. I have a black one in here as well, just for preservation purposes, but the 16x never leaves slot 1. I'm kidding, of course, for real though. I'm kidding, of course. The crown jewel of my GameCube is actually the GCLoader. I don't know if you can see it very well in there, but the GCLoader was a device that is actually pretty easy to install as a mod for the GameCube. You simply replace the disc unit that's in the GameCube, the laser disc, and you just screw this bad boy in. It plugs right into where it needs to go, and all it takes is, kind of hard to get it out from time to time, but a memory card. You just need a memory card, and after everything I've put on here so far, 32 gigs, still plenty of space. I'm not doing great with holding on to things, but this is how I've kept my backlog of GameCube games preserved. I've taken the liberty of acquiring a few other titles here and there. I don't think piracy is the greatest option. However, I'm not willing to spend $300 on a GameCube game just to burn it and put it on an SD card. So I have acquired a couple games that way. But what I really like about this is it's twofold. One, it allows me to just catalog my GameCube library and have easy, quick access to it. The second actually has to do with my Game Boy player. Again, this is my original Game Boy player. I got this, I think the week it came out. I was so excited. And what I love about the Game Boy player is it's a Game Boy. It's a Game Boy Advance built into a square that you plug into your GameCube. It's got the hooks for the link cable or the wireless adapter. It's got the slot for the Game Boy. It's got the slot for the games. You can play your Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Advance games on it. Some games like Kirby Tilt and Tumble, or games where you have to actively do something else to make the game work. Probably not going to work very well with this, but it's so nice, and this is where the second part of the GCLoader comes in. There's a nice piece of software called the Game Boy Interface, which allows you to take full advantage of the Game Boy player. Normally you have to use a piece of software to get the Game Boy player to work, but the GCLoader allows you to use the Game Boy Interface, which really just unlocks the full potential of the Game Boy player. I absolutely love it, and it gives you such crisp video, scaling options that aren't available traditionally with the GameCube. It's quite honestly the best way to experience the Game Boy player, and if you use any of these options to get the best possible video output, you will have like the best video game, you will have the best experience for playing a Game Boy game on the television. So that's a look at my GameCube. I really am happy that I invested so much time and quality into it because I'm so happy. I'm just so happy with the results. It's easily the best choice, and I'm happy that this is the one I've modded because it was just so much easier. It's literally the best choice I've made in terms of anything with the GameCube besides owning a GameCube. And I would recommend it. If you have a GameCube that allows you to use the digital AV out and the analog out, GCHD is awesome, the GCLoader is awesome, the Game Boy player, I mean, come on, it's the Game Boy player. Yeah, it's super cool.